And I ain't hit no drop in a minute. No, I'm about my business.
Rappers Guy Podcast, episode 16. I'm here with
Bailz Pagliacci.
and I am your host, Diggy Metro. Today, we wanted to talk about...
The Blueprint. Jay-Z. I'm sorry, I had like a little brain fart there.
It's all good.
And when we say Blueprint, what we're talking about is, you know, a lot of these past episodes, we've been kind of getting into some details within the industry. And, you know, a lot of times we overlook the basic things. You know, we always got to bring it back to that base level. And one of those questions is, what was the reason you started doing music? That's number one. And then number two, what are your goals, or what do you hope to achieve, or what do you hope to be as an artist as time goes on? And, you know, like I said, you need that blueprint to figure out, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a Drake, you know, a superstardom, you know, big, popular, signed to a label? Do you want to be an independent act that, you know, runs things on their own? Or do you want to be signed to an indie label? Or do you just want to use it as a hobby and just play shows every weekend? You know,
Yeah.
there's different aspects of what you want to do.
I think the problem with a lot of the questions that you're asking is that I don't think young artists know what they want to do.
Mhm.
And I think that if they wrote those things out, their answer would always be, I want to be a Drake.
yeah.
I want to be a Kendrick Lamar. I want to be a J. Cole. And the reality of the matter is that not everyone can. And so it's deeper than, it's more about being honest with yourself than it is about what would you like to be. It's like, what can you be?
That, you know what, you're right. That's exactly, that
It's
is
what
right.
can you be rather than what would you like to be? Because I want to be Bill Gates, right? But can I be Bill Gates in the music industry? No. You know what I mean? Like there's no music mogul that's Bill Gates. Plain and simple. So there's a obvious ceiling in the music industry. Like you can be a Dr. Dre,
Mhm.
you can be a Diddy, you can be a Jay-Z, Kanye, right? But like there's a ceiling. You're never going to be Bill Gates.
Yeah.
There's just a ceiling for everything. And knowing what that ceiling is for your particular music is very important because it allows you to understand how you need to start marketing your stuff and what base do you need to market toward. And, you know, just because Drake and Kendrick are the biggest guys out doesn't necessarily mean that you putting a hashtag Drake makes sense for your brand, because
Yeah.
maybe your brand has nothing to do with that.
And that also ties into kind of like the marketing side of things as well. Because I had a few artists reach out to me and it's like, oh, what artist should I put? And then they'd be like, oh, Drake. And I was like, are you just putting Drake because he's a big artist, or are you putting Drake because you kind of sound similar to him? And it's like, you got to be able to, I hate this word, differentiate. There it goes.
There you go.
That's the word of the day, differentiate.
Absolutely, though. Like, knowing that you sound nothing like Drake and your music sounds nothing like Drake, it wouldn't benefit you to have a bunch of people that are searching Drake's hashtag come to your page, because they're searching that for Drake.
Mhm.
Now, if you sound like Drake, maybe you already know that they're interested in Drake. So now they listen to a song from you and it's similar to Drake. So they could turn around and be like, ooh, I might like this artist. Now, if you are nothing like that, it's a lot harder for them to turn around and be like, oh, I'm interested in this, because they're not interested in that. They're interested in Drake. So knowing where you're pointing your incoming following, knowing what you're reaching for is very important. And being a young artist, I think that you're just trying to, and we talked about this on the Dollar Sign and Twan episode
Mhm.
about how like knowing your audience is important. And he said that he knows that a person who listens to Future isn't going to like his music, but
Yeah.
someone who listens to Currency will. And that was a good statement. And like, there's nothing wrong with pointing your or trying to grab Currency's audience, even though Currency isn't the size of a Future. It still would make more sense to you. Now, another thing you need to ask yourself, the music that you make, who is the top guy in that type of music, right?
Mhm.
Because rap has all these subgenres,
Yep.
and hip hop has all these subgenres. Like,
Cloud hip hop,
Right.
emo rap.
and in your subgenre, who is the top guy, right? And what's the ceiling in your subgenre? So a lot of people like making lo-fi boom bap shit. Like I like making boom bap shit, right?
Mhm.
But who's the top guy in boom bap in
Yeah.
2021?
And like, if he's the top guy, like once again, like you said, like what is his ceiling? Like
Right, and
how
you
far can
know
he
the
go?
ceiling.
Yeah.
So you know the ceiling. So if I want to stick to this music type I know that my ceiling is maybe I do tours every year and I make a decent, reasonable income, but I will never be a rap millionaire.
Yeah, and like you can definitely, it could be possible that you can blow up, but once again, when you're looking at things realistically, like, okay, this is kind of where the ceiling is. Yes, it's possible you can surpass it, but for the most part, let's stay within the realistic realm because we all know, like, when you hype yourself up and you try to, it's not like you're discouraging yourself from being the best you can, but at the same time, there's always be like a realization, like, this is okay. This may be the ceiling where my genre of music may have to come to. Like, even when it comes to, let's say, like trap music, like right now, even though trap music is like what's most popular, next 5 years, as we've seen, like the boom bap has kind of be making more of a resurgence, and then I don't know what's kind of if there's any other new rap that's been coming out, but we're still kind of like in the trap phase, but
Mhm.
the
I
alternative,
think the meshing of the two.
yeah, and the
I think that
alternative
that's
hip hop
big.
coming back up as well, like
Right.
alternative and like more uplifting and powerful music, as far as like, being proud of who you are, whatever the case may be. So that's making more of a comeback in the forefront. So it's always constantly changing. So you just got to be understand, you know, have those expectations to want to exceed past, but also you got to look what's before you.
Well,
Those
it's
ceilings.
with any company. I mean, you could look at, like, say you wanted to start a food truck and your idea was starting a food truck. You go, this is a $1 billion idea. But you look at every food truck around and you could ask the people, yo, obviously you're not going to ask them this because it's rude as fuck. But
Mhm.
like, if you were to have a sit down conversation with a food truck owner and you said, how much does this bring in per year? Even if they're the most popular. And they said, this brings in $250,000 a year. You would go into it thinking, okay, cool. So like that's a really popular one and they're making 250.
Mhm.
I can make 250.
I can make exactly.
That would be that's what you would know is what you're aiming for. Like you're not going to go in and go, he made 250, I'm going to make 2 billion.
Yeah, I could do that. No problem.
Right.
Fuck
It's
it.
just that's just not realistic. So you have to set realistic goals and kind of know what you're going for. So again, knowing your genre, knowing who the biggest person in your genre is and what you should be aiming for. A lot of artists I have conversations with, they're asking about marketing and how they should market. And a lot of the time I'll ask them, can you find 5 artists that you sound similar to or that your music fits into the same kind of subgenre as? And you'll know a lot by going off that
Yeah.
because you'll know who their market is, where their music gets played the most. Like so for Bailz, like, I was thinking about like a Wale, and I'm thinking about all these guys who kind of make that soulful
Mhm.
hip hop. And, even if Bailz isn't necessarily a fan
I'm
of
not.
their music,
I'm not.
which is fine, but like you'll know that like the DMV area or like the North Carolinas, South Carolina,
More
like
inclined to rock with me.
that whole area is very big on that type of music. So you'll know that you have to push your music toward that area if you wanted to build a following, and they'll probably respond well to it because they already like that music, right? So like it's not as blanket as I'm just gonna pick the top people in every genre and just start, hashtag Justin Bieber. I make trap music, but hashtag Justin Bieber.
Mhm.
Like you got to be more specific and you're looking for a particular person out there because the truth is not everyone likes everything. And knowing what they like, you'll be able to market. It's the same reason why companies pay an Instagram to figure out demographics
Yep.
and figure out all your information. And Instagram and all these tech companies are actually holding on to your information and selling it because there's brands out there that are paying to
Willing
know
to
that
pay.
shit. What is he interested in? If he saw a ad of a hair buzzer, right?
Mhm.
Did he like it? Did he stare at it for 10 seconds? Why did he stare at it for 10 seconds? They could take that time that you looked at it. Oh, he was looking at this post for 2 minutes,
Mhm.
right? And they could sell that data.
Right.
And now they're
Mhm.
like, okay, he's interested in that. So all of a sudden start flooding your timeline. And now that I'm saying this with my phone next to me, you know what the ad is on my phone in
It's gonna
20
pop up
minutes.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a hair buzzer.
And then like also within the blueprint, just having kind of, we were just talking about this off camera, but like writing some of those goals down, or even if you're not one of those people that like to be comfortable writing things down, kind of have like a mental picture of where you want to be in the next, let's say, year. If you want to do 6 months, you can do that as well. Just like where can you scale yourself as an artist, or where can you improve things as an artist, and write some of those things down because, like you said, well, nobody even said. I don't know why I just said that, but in the sense of when you ever build a building, there's a foundation. Yes, there's the foundation, but then there's also a blueprint of how the building should be built, because that's what's going to, at the end of the day, have the best result for that building. It's the same thing when it comes to your artistry. Have something that you can write down, something that's in a sense tangible that you can look at, and something that's reachable for you, and write these goals down. Because not only do we understand that in this business or in the music within itself in general, there's those times where things are still discouraging, no matter how many plays, no matter how many streams, how much interaction you get. For some people, you'll still have those down parts like, yeah, I could probably be doing something else, I could do something more. So kind of like putting those goals in a sense that are realistic to reach, you're not really putting too much pressure on yourself. And you also know that you're sticking to a plan. And sometimes if the plan doesn't work out the way you need it to be, that's why you can just rechange everything or restructure how you may want to look at that. Once again, the blueprint is everything, when it comes down to it.
And a lot of the foundation that he's speaking about starts with your catalog. And you know that if you've watched any episodes of this podcast, you know that we're huge on catalog. And the reason why we're big on catalog is because that builds your musical or artistic foundation. It allows people to go to your page and know that you're an entity. And if you don't have that catalog, that's where you should get started. Forget getting plays off one song and doing all that, because once you get them there, there's nothing to keep them there. So you have to build your foundation off of what is important in this business, and that's music. If you don't have music, there's no foundation built yet. You know what I mean? So you could do all the advertisement in the world, and maybe you get a lot of people to listen to that one song, but I can guarantee you that you're not keeping them there.
Yeah, because it's like,
I guarantee you.
What's worse than like hearing a song from an artist? Like, oh, I wonder what else he got. And there's another song, probably, then another song, like 3 songs. Like, all right, that's it. And then, you're probably not releasing all the music probably for like 3 months or so, whatever the case may be. And it's like, all right, I don't care about this guy anymore.
There's also people that I've took a liking to. Maybe I liked one of their songs. I go on their page. They don't have any other music. And then you forget about them.
Yeah, like, well, this is trash. Yeah.
You just forget about them. And it's not even like intentional. Like if I don't see you on my timeline ever again, I'll forget about you, because there's music coming out constantly. And that's what you're kind of trying to compete with. You're in a realm of music where everyone's putting out so consistently that, like, if you do drop off for a few months, it might not feel like a lot to you, but like when you know everyone else is still processing, it's very easy to get lost. Yep. Like, it's very easy for people to forget you, and it sounds like it's fickle, and it is. You know what I mean? But you need to understand that people are not going to just remember you off of one song or your 5 songs. They need more stuff for you to even keep them there, And if you gave someone 2 hours worth of music to listen to, or you gave them an hour worth of music to listen to, at least they know that they could stay there for an hour, and there's enough to keep them there for an hour. Exactly. And you really think about what I said about Instagram. Instagram is important to keep people viewing a post for a certain amount of time. That's big on data. How long were people here for? Spotify also takes that data down, and that works toward your algorithm. If you kept people on your page for a certain amount of time, Spotify tracks that, and they know that this person stayed on this page for 2 hours, right? So now we know that he could keep people here, or she could keep people here for 2 hours, right? So we're going to push
more people.
Right. Push people toward that page, because people tend to stay on that page for a long time, and all they're trying to do is keep you on the app. How do we keep them on the app? Now, if you have one song, people go check out your song and then they close the app. That doesn't speak well to your artistry at all.
The algorithm looking at you like you're a dirty, filthy whore at that point.
Yeah, the algorithm's going to look at you like, oh, he's not important. He's worth 30 seconds while this other person's worth 2 hours. And to someone who is not thinking about it in this sense, and they're thinking all artistic, and, well, I don't want to put out a bad record, and I don't want to, I don't care about keeping people there if it means that I have to just put out copy and paste records and this and that. It's about how you go about the business and the foundation you build and what you're looking to accomplish.
And that goes directly into like finding the blueprint. Like, if there's for some people, if like the artsy guys, that's really into like the music, they'll probably look at somebody doing like the cookie cutter, copy and paste songs over and over as a bad thing. But if that's what that artist wants to do, or if that's the lane that you want to be in, and if that's the, like we had spoke about Tiger before, like if that's the lane that he's in, or the lane that actually works for him, by all means, that's something that he can do. Even for me, like sometimes I feel like sometimes my music may be I may go from one side of the spectrum of a song to another side of the spectrum of a song. And some people may look at that as a bad thing, but for the most part, I just be going there trying to figure out what's going to happen. And like, I'm okay with experimenting with some things.
But
for the
I
most
also
part.
think that a lot of your music in particular sounds similar. Like, I don't think that you go so far off the deep end
Yeah, like
ever that I'm like, that doesn't sound like a him song.
I'm not screaming like on a rock song or
There's
some shit.
bro. There's people that they make one song that sounds like one person, and then another song it sounds like a completely different person. They're putting on accents and they're doing a whole completely different type of music.
You're right.
And you're like, that's not the way to keep a follower, because if you tend to like a song, you also want to hear stuff that's similar to that song.
Yeah, because
You're going to that page for the sake of hearing more stuff that kind of resembles that song, because that's what brought you in the first place. Now you have 20 different types of songs all on one page, and your whole argument is, I'm mad versatile, yo. That doesn't keep people.
And
Sorry.
at that point, they're confused as shit. Like,
Right.
what the fuck is
Like,
going on?
yo, that's not
here?
even if say you're doing this because your dream is to get a label deal, right? And we don't advise for that, but say that's what your dream is. Yo, I want to get signed, right? Cool. Now, a label is going to look at someone who has 18 different types of music on one page, and they're going to say that's not marketable.
Who can I market this shit to?
How am I going to sell this music when every song reaches a different demographic? This song sounds like a 90s boom bap record, and it would probably appeal to the 28 to 44 demographic, while this song appeals to 13 to 18. This song appeals to 18 to 25. Like, it's too rambunctious for like people to even be able to sell you.
Because what you'll even find out when you like doing like the marketing, as far as marketing like your own music, even if I like open it up like from like 13 to 55, it's still going to sit in between the range of like 18 to 35 or 18 to 34.
The people who like it are going to like it.
This is what it's going to be.
You could open it
what
up
I'm
to
saying?
everyone, but still, the people who like it are going to like it. And a lot of the time, another problem with artists doing 18 different types of music and saying, "Oh, I'm just so versatile." Yo, there are people who I've mixed that their whole versatility shtick is cool until you hear them on a trap song they sound really good on, and then they do a boom bap song and they're terrible. And it's like, you're just good at trap. You think that you're good at everything.
Mhm.
You're not. Like, you're good at trap music. You're actually really bad at boom bap, but you think that there's benefit in you doing a bad boom bap song and a good trap song?
One of the things that I've learned from doing YouTube videos or, gathering information about how to go about, doing YouTube videos is like, find your niche. And once you find your niche, make sure that it's, it's for that specific audience, because that's the one that's going to continue to grow. That's the one that's going to continue to make you the artist that you are. Just stick to your niche. You don't really have to be
Niche
versatile.
works for everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Listen, I did a podcast for 5 years with my friends, and the biggest issue with that podcast was that there was no niche.
it was just all over the place.
It was all over the place, just on some like friendly banter shit. And the hardest part with that is now, how do we sell this to people?
Exactly.
What's the selling point? We talk about everything. That's not a selling point. Now, all right, cool. Yo, back to the drawing board. What's a good podcast? Oh, I want to give information to rappers. Bailz knows the marketing side. I know a lot of the music side.
Mhm.
We could get together and do the Rappers Guide podcast, and now there's a niche that you could sell to people, because they know when they come here, when you guys are here, it's for music.
It's music business.
It's based on music business, and in particular, very niche. It's a lot of it is based toward rappers.
Rappers got podcasts.
So it's very, very niche, and we understand that, and that it's very purposeful as well. Like, the purpose is we want to give you guys a place where you could come and you could gain information about a very specific and particular topic.
Yes.
We're not trying to give you guys everything under the sun when you don't have to. You know what I mean?
Because one shoe doesn't fit all. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't fit everybody. Like, some of the things that we may say may benefit some people who want to be independent. Some of the things we may be saying, people who wants to get signed to a deal and not have to worry about anything, they may look at some things that we're saying like, I really don't agree with that, or that's not what I really want. And it's like, once again, there's nothing wrong with either side of the token. We just feel like, at this day and age, all the tools and the technology and the access is there for us. We just got to be able to fund it, number one, which is usually a difficult part, especially, coming up as an artist.
That is the part that people can't get to, that doesn't allow them to grow.
And you know what? That ties in with the blueprint. And it ties in to the episode when we talked about having a job to, maintain your career.
Everything with this podcast all these things, these moving parts and all these different episodes, they all tie in because they're all in regards to the music industry. Like every part of it, at some point, you're going to hear something that's reminiscent of another episode because it's all involving the same exact thing.
Mhm.
And like when we talk about building your blueprint and building your foundation, I think the first thing you need to know as an artist is that without money, and this is going to sound crazy and it's going to sound very shitty and it's not going to sound exciting. As an artist, you need to know that without money, there is no making it in this game.
You ain't shit.
Just plain and simple. Whether that and I'm not talking about just having fucking 50,000 off bat. I'm talking without any money, like you can't pay for beats. You can't pay for your recording costs.
Mhm.
You can't pay for equipment if you wanted to record yourself. You can't pay for cover art. You could learn how to do all these things, but at some point you're going to have to branch out and you're going to have to start outsourcing. And cuz it's not sustainable to do everything yourself. At some point you need a team and you're going to have to work. But to tell people off bat you're going to need money for this shit, I hope that the people who are not willing to spend the money see this and they go, fuck that. And the people who are willing to spend the money see this and go, okay, now I know what I'm in for.
Because if you're not willing to spend the money, if you're not willing to fund it for yourself, that means you're dependent on the label. And once again,
there's no way to get the label if you don't have money.
Exactly.
That's
it's
the
like,
thing.
You can even try to do it that way,
right.
But they still want to see you have 1 million streams.
But see, I think that's the young like amateur mindset is that I don't need money because the label is going to sign me and they're going to pay for it. The label won't know who you are until you get to a point where everyone knows who you are. If everyone knows who you are, you spent money.
Exactly.
That's just how it goes, man. And maybe you spent money on college to go for music production. You learned it. But to get into this industry at any point, money must be spent.
Or you can get lucky with a TikTok video.
You got
to capitalize after that. Like you have to be able to put the money in after that.
How did that TikTok video even happen?
That's also true. You had to be able to
Did you pay someone for the TikTok video or did someone just out of the kindness of their heart? Because here's the thing. A lot of those TikTok videos aren't organic at all.
Yeah, a lot of them. There's like
a lot of these people are paying people.
It's called Breaker,
right? And you're paying these influencers to do stuff. So even that side doesn't really exist. We're acting like being naive to the industry. You think like, oh, they just picked up a song that they liked and they started playing it. That's not what happened, man. That person happened to make a good song. He paid or she paid someone to then like a famous influencer to then do a video about it. And it blew up because it was a good song. Now, good music will always do something.
It's always going to hit.
But it's not going to hit where it needs to hit unless you put money behind the promotion of it. And you need to have money to begin with to even start any of this. Like, recording a song, say your mom or dad has a MacBook with GarageBand and you were able to record a song somehow using the laptop speaker or laptop mic, and you somehow got it to sound acceptable. At some point, if that song was to get big or it was getting bigger, there'd be people going, the quality is just not there.
Hence the remasters. Like even like I think was it The Weeknd when he had like those mixtapes back in the day, he had to re-release them. That was at the House of Balloons. It was some shit like that.
House of Balloons. Yeah, trilogy.
He had to re-release it. And, that's probably had something to do with it. Like, the music was fire. It was good. But once you start hitting, like, a bigger market, it needs to be much better to be able to be, like, even more marketable.
The quality needs to be up there because although the average consumer might not care, the businesses do.
They definitely care.
The movies, like going back to our last episode, when you're talking about sync licensing and you're talking about mechanical royalties and you're talking about public performance and all this stuff, like in order for people to play your stuff out, it needs to be quality.
Yeah.
Because it needs to translate. I'll put my engineer hat on real quick. The most important part of engineering and being a mixing engineer is making sure that this song translates from one set of speakers to the next. And it sounds good on a cell phone.
Yep.
And it sounds good on a Bluetooth speaker. And it sounds good. That's very important in mixing, right? So the reason that you pay someone to mix your song is they're already doing that for you and making sure that it sounds good on all these different sources. So now if you take it out to a club and you play it at the club, it's also gonna sound good there.
Like, yo, why the bass sound like that? Like, if you don't get it professional music, yo, why it sound like that? It didn't sound like this in a car. Like,
right.
You know why?
Exactly. Because it's hard. Like, a lot of people, when they're mixing their own records starting off, they're mixing it for the speakers that they have. Like, bro, when I first started recording music was on GarageBand, and I was mixing it on laptop speakers.
Regular speakers, yeah.
Laptop speakers, not regular speakers, laptop speakers. I'm sitting there mixing the music on there and headphones. And
you're wilding.
I didn't know what sounded good or not. I'm getting it to sound okay on these speakers and just, playing
bring
it out.
that shit into the car. Like, man, what is this trash shit that you got playing?
I didn't even care that it sounded like shit, because to me it was such an intriguing thing that I was actually able to even record vocals onto a beat and listen to it somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't start to think about that shit, but at some point you will think about it. When I was 17 or 18, I made mixtapes. 18. I started making mixtapes, and this kid reaches out and says, I have a situation with this small record label over here, and they have a studio, and you should come by and record some of your music. He's like, the music's good, but the quality's not there. And I took it upon myself to go, and that was the first introduction I had to an actual studio, because when we were younger, I don't know if you recall this, but that wasn't such like a known thing where the studios were at.
Thing. You just had your regular computer. You would have fucking had a acoustic or Mixcraft. That's what I had. That's what I was recording. I had like a little USB mic, and I'm just rapping inside of it. And I thought, this is my booth. This is my studio.
But like, did you even know how to go to a studio at that time? I had no idea.
No clue.
I thought that studios were something that like labels
only had access to.
I didn't know that you had access as a normal consumer or a regular person making music. Yeah. So I didn't know that that was even a thing where you could just book a session and get your shit professionally done. So kids out there might not know, although it's way more out there now, and I think that kids are more
such easier access now.
Right. I think that they understand that exists now. But you don't have to do all that stuff yourself. But again, it brings you back to, you need to have money in this industry, and a lot of your foundation. So we have two things. We have money, the most important thing, and catalog, probably the second most important thing, right? Of your foundation.
Yeah, exactly. Because money and catalog, and those two things go hand in hand, because then guess what? Your catalog makes you money.
It's the same as having like stock.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have money in stock, like say you have a bunch of shirts and you have the money, right? You can start a clothing brand.
Yep.
That's how you start a clothing brand. You have the catalog, which is the shirts, and you have the money to sign up to websites, and you have the money to push it, because you're going to need money to ship it out. You're going to need money to do all these things, and you need money up front to even buy the shirts. But like those two things, having them both is the most important part to the foundation. Like, I don't even think it's as important to make good music until later, because I really believe that everyone is bad when they start.
Yeah, that's just how it is.
And if you're a kid out there watching this and your music's not up to par, don't feel bad, man. It's literally how it starts. Like, everyone is bad. Like, even if your friends are telling you that you're bad, like, I would like to say that a lot of the people who told me I was bad now tell me I'm good.
Yep. That's just the way of the world. That's
and
how
it just happens like that. And it's part of like the learning curve of making music. So you can't get down on yourself because they tell you you're bad, because I think we even talked about this on an early episode, like maybe in the 1 through 5 range, where it's like sports. Like, if you pick up a basketball for the first time, you're not going to be good at basketball.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean in time you won't get good at it. So don't let people discourage you. Like, a lot of people are scared to do stuff like this. They're scared to go out on a limb and start recording music and showing people, because they wouldn't do it, because it embarrasses them.
Embarrassed, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like, that doesn't mean it has to embarrass you. I would say not to be so vocal and up front with your early recordings, because chances are it's going to sound bad. And chances are in 5 years, you're going to look back and go, holy shit, that was
horrible.
bad.
I do that shit to this day.
Me too.
That shit made me want to throw up.
And there's nothing wrong with that, though, because we all are of the understanding that at some point we just weren't good yet, and we had to learn this shit.
And I also wonder, you mentioned all that stuff, just tying back into like the blueprint. once again, I mentioned this on the last episode, but music, yes, music lasts forever, but once again, you're never the hottest thing forever. Eventually, somebody's gonna fall off. Like even right now, somebody can even debate that Drake's not the hot guy anymore. It's Lil Baby. Some people say the opposite, whatever the case may be, or he's just like going to begin to like ascend him.
You know how that'll never happen?
I don't think it'll ever happen.
Lil Baby is mostly important because of Drake.
Yeah, because of those two, even the two songs that he's been on, it's been that people been talking about as the hottest. But within that, know your exit strategy too. Like once again, that's part of the blueprint. Know your exit strategy. Once again, you're not going to make, you're not going to be the hottest guy. Or you're not going to be the person in your niche that's going to be at the top for the longest. So what other ways are you going to branch out?
Also, let me stop you real quick. Know that there is actually our video went out.
God damn it!
Can you hit the?
I don't think it's even signed in right now.
That's all good.
Yeah, I think we just.
But no. Real quick. So, beyond exit strategy, know that in this game, like, all right, let me give an example. A running back in the NFL has a 5-year career.
Yeah.
And they know that they have a 5-year career. So what they do within that 5 years, as far as investment, as far as all these things, is very important. It's actually like very integral into how the rest of their life is going to be, right? So as a musician, like, especially in hip hop, it's becoming this now where like you could be older and still be a rapper and it's fine. But for a long time, once you got to a certain age, they just kicked you out of the game.
You just got put on the shelf.
So to know that like there is a shelf life to most musicians' careers, and I'm saying majority. Majority. Like the artists who are around for 20 years, man, that's like a real big milestone. That's a huge milestone to be an artist that's been around for that amount of time and you're still successful.
But they were also kind of in it, like, not to say it's infant stages, but as it was growing up to be like a teenager, like the Dr. Dre's and all that.
That's true. But like hip hop started in the late 70s, early 80s, and it really like became huge in the late 90s, early 2000s. And now it is where it is, right? So like we're still in a early stage of it even now. So we don't really know how a hip hop artist's life kind of like carries out, because there's been rock musicians since the beginning of time that you've seen them die and you've seen them, and we don't really have anyone to really like judge based off of. And the early stages of hip hop, a lot of people did have these 5-year careers or 10-year careers and they were gone. And now you're seeing that there's a little bit more longevity in the shit. So like a kid growing up right now, they might get to a point where like rappers are rapping till they're 80. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like it might be a thing.
I don't want to be alive for that.
I don't know. If like I hear Jay-Z verse now and I'm still cool with it.
I'll give you that.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't see Jay-Z in 10 years just automatic, like out of nowhere being bad at rapping. I just think that certain people are always going to be good. And, within white art forms, they're afforded the ability to tour their whole lives and make music their whole lives. If you asked a middle-aged white woman if she'd be down for a Rolling Stones album, she'd totally be down for a new album from them. But you ask like hip hop fans, like, are you down for a Jay-Z album when he's 50? And they're like, nah, fuck that. He's an old man.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the only art form that we don't date it like that. Right. That you date people. And it's like self-hate.
It is. It definitely is. And that's why I said when it comes to exit strategy, because I know for me, I really don't want to be a 50-year-old like rapper. But I would like to be a 50-year-old, maybe music video director, maybe a 50-year-old producer, maybe a 50-year-old label head.
So how you shift within the business. Now, another thing that we want to kind of put out there is that when we talk about the music industry, we also hope that some of you guys understand that there's different jobs in the music industry, and we'll dedicate a whole future episode to this shit because it's way too much to squeeze into a little portion. But like, there's so many different things you could do within music that like, yeah, you might start off wanting to be just strictly a rapper, and you might be able to shift into a recording engineer or a mixing engineer, mastering engineer. You could shift into a music video director. You could shift into all these things as long as you're under the umbrella of music and still be happy. But like, to think that every single one of you has to be a rapper, you're cutting yourself short, because it's like you only gave yourself one
option, like one eggs in one basket. And on top of that, we all know that the artists usually don't make the most money. It's people that be around the artists be making most of the money. What they're doing with the artist or for the artist, and the artist is usually the one that's paying those people.
And being a songwriter is a very lucrative thing in music. And being a producer is very lucrative in music. Having points on albums, being an A&R. There's so many different things that you could do. Like maybe you do have a really dope ear for music, and maybe you are able to accomplish certain things with music. But as far as being a legitimate rapper, it doesn't work with you.
Yeah.
You know, and knowing that you can shift allows you to have longevity in this game, because I know for a fact that I could engineer till I'm 70.
Yep.
You know, I hope that I'm not still doing it unless I really want to.
Yeah, exactly.
At that point,
it's what you want to do.
because at that point, I should own 10 different studios. Just trajectory wise, I should be able to do that.
See that? Those are them goals right there.
You know what I'm saying? But for me, like knowing that within this field, I can afford myself the ability to be an engineer till I'm 70 if I want, or if I'm saying it like I'm guaranteed life. You know what I mean? Like if life permits it,
or whatever
I'll be able to do that. But like knowing that there are these shifts within the music industry that you can do is important, and knowing that you don't necessarily have to stick to the original game plan just because, you know, everyone else is a rapper, so I got to be a rapper too. Like you could do whatever it is that makes you happy, but if music as a whole makes you happy, then know that there are hundreds of positions in this that you could shift and become.
So at the end of the day, make sure you understand where you want to be or what you want to achieve, and be realistic within those goals. And once again, don't be so hard stuck that this is what you only got to do, because there's always options. There's always possibilities where you're still in the realm of music. You just probably just have to do it in a different light.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? That's it.
Episode 16, Rapper's Guide. We are signing out. This is Diggy Metro.
Bailz Pagliacci.
Peace out, guys.